believe in equality for everyone, except reporters and photographers. Faith is not something to grasp. It is a state to grow into. Faith must be enforced by reason. When faith becomes blind, it dies. Among the many misdeeds of the British rule in India, history will look upon the act depriving a whole nation of arms as the blackest. It is easy enough to be friendly to one's friends, but to befriend the one who regards himself as your enemy is the quintessence of true religion. The other is mere business. What difference does it make to the dead, the orphans, and the homeless, whether the mad destruction is wrought under the name of totalitarianism or the holy name of liberty or democracy? Truth is by nature self-evident. As soon as you remove the cobwebs of ignorance that surround it, it shines clear. Each one prays to God according to his own light. Freedom is not worth having if it does not connote freedom to err. Morality which depends upon the helplessness of a man or woman has not much to recommend it. Morality is rooted in the purity of our hearts. Each one has to find his peace from within, and peace to be real must be unaffected by outside circumstances. When restraint and courtesy are added to strength, the latter becomes irresistible. Intolerance betrays want of faith in one's cause. I know to banish anger altogether from one's breast is a difficult task. It cannot be achieved through pure personal effort. It can be done only by God's grace. Intolerance is itself a form of violence and an obstacle to the growth of a true democratic spirit. Man is supposed to be the maker of his destiny. It is only partly true. He can make his destiny only in so far as he is allowed by the great power. What do I think of Western civilization? I think it would be a very good idea. I have also seen children successfully surmounting the effects of an evil inheritance. That is due to purity being an inherent attribute of the soul. Capital as such is not evil. It is its wrong use that is evil. Capital in some form or other will always be needed. I did once seriously think of embracing the Christian faith. The gentle figure of Christ, so full of forgiveness that he taught his followers not to retaliate when abused or struck, but to turn the other cheek. I thought it was a beautiful example of the perfect man. Partition is bad, but whatever is past is past. We have only to look to the future. Healthy discontent is the prelude to progress. A principle is the expression of perfection, and as imperfect beings like us cannot practice perfection, we devise every moment limits of its compromise in practice. Glory lies in the attempt to reach one's goal, and not in reaching it. Man can never be a woman's equal in the spirit of selfless service with which nature has endowed her. Prayer is not an old woman's idle amusement. Properly understood and applied, it is the most potent instrument of action. I think it is the height of ignorance to believe that the sexual act is an independent function necessary, like sleeping or eating. Seeing, therefore, that I did not desire more children, I began to strive after self-control. There was endless difficulty in the task. I claimed to be a simple individual liable to err like any other fellow mortal. I own, however, that I have humility enough to confess my errors and to retrace my steps. Nearly everything you do is of no importance, but it is important that you do it. Culture of the mind must be subservient to the heart. We do not need to proselytize either by our speech or by our writing. We can only do so really with our lives. Let our lives be open books for all to study. What is true of the individual will be tomorrow true of the whole nation if individuals will but refuse to lose heart and hope. A religion that takes no account of practical affairs and does not help to solve them is no religion. Fear has its use, but cowardice has none. Constant development is the law of life, and a man who always tries to maintain his dogmas in order to appear consistent drives himself into a false position. Ours is one continued struggle against degradation sought to be inflicted upon us by the European, who desire to degrade us to the level of the raw Kafir, whose occupation is hunting and whose sole ambition is to collect a certain number of cattle to buy a wife with, and then pass his life in indolence and nakedness. I am in the world feeling my way to light amid the encircling gloom. For me every ruler is alien that defies public opinion. Infinite striving to be the best is man's duty. It is its own reward. Everything else is in God's hands. We should meet abuse by forbearance. Human nature is so constituted that if we take absolutely no notice of anger or abuse, the person indulging in it will soon weary of it and stop. Spiritual relationship is far more precious than physical. Physical relationship divorced from spiritual is body without soul. The only tyrant I accept in this world is the still voice within. Providence has its appointed hour for everything. We cannot command results. We can only strive. Violent means will give violent freedom. That would be a menace to the world and to India herself. A policy is a temporary creed liable to be changed. But while it holds good, it has got to be pursued with apostolic zeal. Are creeds such simple things like the clothes which a man can change at will and put on at will? Creeds are such for which people lie for ages and ages. Man falls from the pursuit of the ideal of planned living and high thinking the moment he wants to multiply his daily wants. Man's happiness really lies in contentment. All the religions of the world, while they may differ in other respects, unitedly proclaim that nothing lives in this world but truth. Non-violence, which is the quality of the heart, cannot come by an appeal to the brain. Rites that do not flow from duty well performed are not worth having. I reject any religious doctrine that does not appeal to reason and is in conflict with morality. An unjust law is itself a species of violence. Arrest for its breach is more so. We may have our private opinions, but why should they be a bar to the meeting of hearts? Non-violence and truth are inseparable and presuppose one another. I claim to be a simple individual liable to err like any other fellow mortal. I own, however, that I have humility enough in me to confess my errors and to retrace my steps. I believe that a man is the strongest soldier for daring to die unarmed. Increase of material comforts, it may be generally laid down, does not in any way whatsoever conduce to moral growth. Fear of death makes us devoid both of valor and religion. For want of valor is want of religious faith. If cooperation is a duty, I hold that non-cooperation also under certain conditions is equally a duty. There is an orderliness in the universe. There is an unalterable law governing everything and every being that exists or lives. It is no blind law, for no blind law can govern the conduct of living beings. It is my own firm belief that the strength of the soul grows in proportion as you subdue the flesh. I would heartily welcome the union of East and West provided it is not based on brute force. The pursuit of truth does not permit violence on one's opponent. Everyone who wills can hear the inner voice. It is within everyone. Moral authority is never retained by any attempt to hold on to it. It comes without seeking and is retained without effort. It is the duty of every thoughtful Indian not to marry. In case he is helpless in regard to marriage, he should abstain from sexual intercourse with his wife. The spirit of democracy is not a mechanical thing to be adjusted by abolition of forms. It requires change of heart. Purity of personal life is the one indispensable condition for building up a sound education. To deprive a man of his natural liberty and to deny to him the ordinary amenities of life is worse than starving the body. It is starvation of the soul, the dweller in the body. Unwearied ceaseless effort is the price that must be paid for turning faith into a rich infallible experience. Man lives freely only by his readiness to die, if need be, at the hands of his brother, never by killing him. Violent men have not been known in history to die to a man. They die up to a point.